Hello everybody, Realm Builder Guy here, and welcome back to the channel, and a new Victoria 3 dev diary. I know it's been a long time, about 6 months since I did one of these, and just life in general and everything kind of got in the way, and I kind of got out of the flow of doing these, but like I announced in the community section, and as you saw last week, if you saw it, that is, I did a Crusader Kings 3 dev diary again for the first time in a long time, and I want to keep doing these on a regular basis, knowing that sometimes life is just going to get in the way. Example, when I will be actually gone for a month from mid-February to mid-March. More about that in an update video in a couple of weeks or so, kind of talking about that. But for now, in the meantime, I'm going to keep going here with the dev diaries for Victoria 3. And number 29 is an interesting one. I unfortunately did miss the Warfare ones. I thought about doing a summary one about Warfare. If that's something you'd be interested in, let me know that down in the comments. Otherwise, if you enjoy these dev diaries, don't forget, likes always help. So we're going to talk about user experience. We're talking about the user experience overview. And as always, I will read through these and share my thoughts and reactions to it. So this is from Henrik. He is the UX designer for PDS. He kind of talks here in these paragraphs about how he's going to be gone for a few months on parental leave, and somebody else will be taking over for him. But now let's get into the meat of it. First and foremost, why do we do what we do? Basically, our end goal is to make the game more approachable and accessible so that we can make it even deeper and more complex. That's an interesting one there. This bit about more complex. Complexity should not come from not knowing where to find something, thank you, and why something happened, but from the deep simulation and game mechanics at the core of our game. So very complex game mechanics shouldn't be made harder by a UX being, well, hard to understand, being, let's say, not natural in its flow. The more accessible the information and interactions can be, the more complex we can make that information and those interactions. Makes sense. In order to get there, we have 3 UX pillars. The right information at the right time, clear feedback about cause and effect, clearly separate actions from information. What tools do we have at our disposal to provide a user experience that satisfies these lofty goals? Well, in this dev diary, we will walk you through some of our main tools and approaches. Now, in terms of these 3 pillars, that's of course really important, but for me, it's also about an intuitive UI and UX that I, as a player, don't always have to go, okay, where is that again? And make, like 4 or 5 clicks to get to very basic core mechanics. So that's, for me, very, very important. Let me know what's important for you in a UI and UX design. Nested tooltips, a nested tooltip as made famous by Crusader Kings 3. I do like the nested tooltips by Crusader Kings 3. So I will put that out there right now. There's one piece of technology we cannot see this game without: nested tooltips. We use it both for game concepts and for getting more detailed breakdowns of numbers. And boy, do we have numbers. Yes, this is a number simulation. This allows us to achieve parts of the first UX pillar, the right information at the right time. Instead of having to explain every single detail and anecdote in a single homogeneous tooltip, we can focus on the most essential and important information for the current context and leave any information that might not be directly tied to this context for the nested tooltips to cover. This is crucial in Victoria 3, where every single thing affects a whole bunch of other things, some very important and others simply knock-on effects. You could see here, talks about taxation. So this is a nested tooltip. Maybe this will be through the mouse wheel, pressing it down, that locks it in CK3. So taxation can be money deducted from the pop's wages or consumption taxes added to the price of goods. I'm assuming it came from multiple of these. Here you see Texas, market capital. You can see some more details here. Of course, nested tooltips come with their own set of challenges. This is where we are happy to allow for a lot of customization and tweaking. For example, how do you want the tooltip to lock, mouse tendency, timer lock, or action lock? If you choose the timer lock, how long do you want it? I personally don't like timer locks. I want to choose when I do it, and I always use middle mouse wheel. Just press it, and it'll lock it in. That's not default. I think in CK3 you can also adjust that, but that's in my preferences like from the get-go, so I haven't even thought about it since then. Data visualization. One of the more challenging areas is to clearly give feedback of a value's change over time. In a game with as many interlocking systems as Victoria, giving feedback on how something has changed over time becomes an essential part of the game loop. How can we take several values and show you exactly how it has changed over time? You guessed it, line graphs. Here, GDP. I mean, that's logical, makes sense. This is something, if you play a lot of, let's call it spreadsheet simulators, like Football Manager as an example, or Out of the Park Baseball, you do have graphs like this that simulate or show change in, say, a player's attributes or skills over time, or income levels of a club. This is the same thing here. It's easy visualization, and that is a key aspect. We would never make a Victoria game without the proper amount of graphs and charts. We've got pie graphs. We've got this right here. Yes, you can switch to show pie charts for Victoria to purists. So you either have this or you have this. For me, I'm going pie graph. This is fine. To me, this looks nicer. Also, if you look at graphic, I know this is a work in progress, but the graphics, this is much nicer to look at. I'm assuming here they would change that over time as well. But I think, for once, I'm going to say pie graph better. Much better. Numbers that update in real time and predictions. In most cases in our previous games, you have to tick the game in order to see the effects of things. Victoria, we try to make all the immediate effects of your actions available the second you take them. When taking actions that have consequences spreading far and wide throughout the game systems, it can be really hard to parse if this is a good idea or not without excessive use of spreadsheet software. So we predict things for you with a nested tooltip breakdown of that prediction value. So here, the building panel provides you with all the raw building data you could ever need for you to analyze however you like. For whatever action you may desire, we provide our warmest support in your calculating endeavors with predictions such as the weekly balance, when changing production method, and predicted earnings of the building if you were to expand it. So we look at Glassworks here. Okay, so production methods, output, and then here we look at, what are we looking at? Ceramics, and you can see change luxury production, and you can see how this affects absolutely everything. Here, build coal mines, predicted earnings per week. Yeah, again, spreadsheet manager. Focus on the map. Our map is gorgeous. Yes, everything I've seen so far, I'm absolutely in love with Victoria 3's map. For me, I liked Imperator. I really like Crusader Kings 3 in the terms of you scrolling in and out. It changes the depth of detail from a more political map to a geographic map. But what I've seen so far from Victoria 3, it looks fantastic. Our map is gorgeous, and we want to put more emphasis on it. For example, all events in the game have a location on the map. If you hover over a state name in any text, that state will be highlighted on the map. Perfect. This makes it easier to connect the names of things with their representation on the map, giving context to the text of the map. However, one of the coolest contextual information we are creating are map modes. We have map modes connected to most of our information panels, triggering when you open each panel, which gives you the right contextual information at the right time. With the use of icons, numbers, and different heat maps, we enable you to see several layers of contextual information at the same time without things getting too cluttered and without you having to scroll through a big sheet of data. Albeit all map modes also exist in list form, making it possible to sort the information that is shown on the map, not entirely unlike a visual ledger. Now here we can see China and fabric and heat maps. I like heat maps. I'm a map person. I think everybody who plays strategy games is a map person, but I'm a visual person, and it's easier for me to use this kind of, say, mapping software to really understand where everything is versus a list, because after a while, you just don't really know where all the provinces or areas or anything like that, or customers, if you're in that kind of a business in general. Seeing something like this, it just makes me understand it better. The lenses. Every action you take on the map, you can take from the 5 lenses: production lens, political lens, diplomatic lens, military lens, and trade lens. Each lens comes with its own map mode. Basically, it is like viewing your country from a specific point of view. I like this down here. So production, military, I like this. Kazakhs, Persia, Tibet, Egypt, Ottoman Empire, Greater Qing. I like this. Looks good. Okay, here, state interactions. See Mexico down here, where what is, as far as looks like production. I like that. Right-click menus. The map interactions and the lenses are our take on the macro builder. That is when you know what action you want to take, and then you select what type of entity to perform that action on. On the other side of the coin, we use right-click menus for when you know what entity you want to perform an action on, and then select an action from a list of potential actions. It's a lot of action there. We have this for states, markets, characters, buildings, interest groups, and goods. So anytime you see any of those in the game, you can right-click on them to get a list of actions you can perform. Perfect. I see Lanfang. Information, zoom, open diplomacy, begin improving even relations, damaging relations, expel diplomats. Easy, quick, and simple. Empty states. Often forgotten, but extremely important. This is the feedback of dead ends, such as looking at the urban buildings tab of a state with no urban buildings. A useful empty state will let the player know what's happening, why it's happening, and what to do about it. In a state with no urban buildings, we should, of course, tell this to the player, but also include the potential urban buildings which the player can build in that state. This is only one of the many examples, and you'd be surprised how often this simple yet important UX design aspect is forgotten. The empty state tells the player what that screen could be populated with and what the player can do about it. Yeah, perfect. You can see here, 0 of all of this with what you could put in there. Easy, simple, straightforward. I like this. Should you get an economics degree before you play Victoria 3? Far be it from us to ever discourage anyone from getting an economics degree. Yet, despite Victoria 3's immense depth and complexity, our intention is still to allow you to learn even the most advanced concepts the game is based on as you play. One aspect of this is the tutorial, which we are putting more focus onto than ever before and will cover in detail in a future Dev Diary. Another aspect is through tool-tippable game concepts, which work much like an integrated dictionary or rulebook. I like that. Whenever you see such a concept in text, such as POPs, dividends, taxes, or market price, you can tooltip it to get an explanation of what it means and references to related concepts and mechanics. This powerful tool, together with the nested tooltips, allows us to design and explain anything in the game without writing a novel in each tooltip. And as a player, you can choose to deep dive into any peculiarities as you see fit. Here, pop. A pop is a grouping of people, and you can click then, obviously, on anything highlighted to go deeper and deeper and deeper into basically a wiki, for lack of a better term, a non-editable wiki. Accessibility features. Last but not least, we cannot talk about UX without mentioning accessibility, and boy, are we happy to have something never before seen in any PDS game. Color blindness mode for text. We have it in our roadmap to make this feature work with more things in the game as well. We've also worked hard to get to a point where the UI scaling should work even better out of the box than previous releases. Okay, I don't suffer from color blindness, but I know a few people that do, and you can see here we've got green, we've got red in the standard, and then the colorblind mode, I guess, we have different variations of it. So that's all for the first Dev Diary of 2022. What an exciting year we have in front of us with so many tooltips to design and improve on. We'll be back next week where Kenneth, our 2D art lead, will guide you through a closer look at the UI design of Victoria 3. So see you then, Aaron and Henrik. So I think I was a little like when I saw it's going to be about UX versus game mechanics, given that I missed a few game mechanics dev diaries to cover for you guys. I was like, really? But honestly, this is exciting. This is incredibly important because all the mechanics in the world, all the great graphics in the world really don't matter if you don't get the UI and the UX right. It'll kill a game immediately. So I like a lot of these concepts. Obviously, it'll be proven over time when the game actually launches, whenever that is, and we actually get a chance to sit down and play it. So let me know your thoughts on some of the concepts they talk about here in UX. What are some of the things in current Paradox games that you like/dislike, that you really hope they implement in Victoria 3, and things you really, really hope you never have to deal with again? So if you enjoyed this video and dev diaries like this, please hit the like button. If you're new and unsubscribed, maybe consider hitting the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future strategy gaming content and other gaming content that's coming to the channel. And until next time, I am Realm Builder Guy, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.